Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in again. Today we're going to talk about Transformers. More specifically, we're going to talk about Titan's Return SixShot. And of course, with SixShot, he comes with Revolver. For those of you who follow G1 Transformers, you'll know that this is a remake of the original SixShot that came out in 1987 during the 4th year of Transformers. This one, it was made back in 2017, exactly 30 years later, and it has all the same features that the original had, plus more. I don't know if anybody has any experience with actually seeing one of these guys up close, but Transformers typically has two modes. You have the robot mode and an alternate mode. Most of the time, that mode is either a vehicle, an animal, some sort of mechanical device, and in most cases, you have Transformers that kind of resemble something that doesn't look anything humanoid. In this case, SixShot has not just one alternate mode, but 5 alternate modes. And if you really want to get technical, he actually has 6 alternate modes. So let's dive into this figure. First of all, what distinguishes this new homage to the old figure? What makes it different from the G1 version? Well, there's actually 2 things. Number one, very much like any new Transformers, you'll notice that the articulation is a lot more abundant than the original 1987 toy. Back then, people like to call our old and original Transformers bricks because of their limited articulation. This one, however, you'll see that it has the following articulation. Yeah, let's start with the head. You have your head joint, which the original SixShot did not have. Unfortunately, his up and down movement is limited, but it is there, so that's 2 points. And then over on the arms, you have your rotation this way, and then your elbow, and then you have your elbow turning this way, and then your shoulder turning this way. So that's 4 on this arm, same thing on this side. So you have another 4 that makes the articulation points up to 10. Very much like the original SixShot, it has no waist articulation. However, it does have your hip articulation going this way. It can go back and forth this way. You'll notice there's a skirt panel here to allow for articulation going forward and backward. There's knee articulation. And then there's also the twist right above the hip. So there's also 4 points of articulation. Now, if you want to look at the foot, which is kind of part of SixShot's robot mode, but it's really part of his wolf mode, or if you want to prefer this to be his robot foot, then you have this foot articulation. So that brings it up to 5. So you have 10 on the top and 10 on the bottom for a total of 20 articulation points. You can also count the wing articulation, where you can fold them down this way and fold the wings down this way, depending on how you want to configure his wings. So that's an extra 4 points of articulation. So in total, he has 24 meaningful articulation points. The second feature that distinguishes him from the original SixShot is, of course, but he's also a headmaster. So what I mentioned before, Revolver is the name of his headmaster, and the original SixShot was not a headmaster. He was just simply a 6 changer. In the Titan's Return version, every major figure has a little partner that transforms into a little humanoid figure. So in this case, Revolver is simply just the face and the majority of the head component of SixShot. But there's a few things I want to point out with this minifigure. So very much like all the other Titan Return figures for that line, he has the hip articulation, except he only goes up and down. He has a mid-thigh articulation right here. You can argue it's the knee, but it's closer to where the thigh is. His head turns. It's a very small ball joint, but it turns. And funny enough, this head, the ball joint on the head, allows for him to make a head movement on some of the smaller figures. But in this case, it's not used for this figure because, as you can see in the head component, he plugs into the larger head component. So the head/neck joint for him is not necessary for SixShot. And of course, he has 2 arm movement, but it only moves forward and up and down, or forward and downwards if you prefer. So this figure also has a total of 4 points of articulation. So if you count the 24 points of articulation on SixShot itself and the 4 points of articulation on Revolver, you have a total of 28 points of articulation. So he has some sculpted chest details. His face is also there. It's very small, but it's definitely there. You can make it out. And of course, you have the leg details on his lower body. He's kind of dull because, as you can see, he only has the white and the teal green color for the most part. But then when you turn him around and flip him upside down like this, you can see the face for SixShot. Now, unlike the SixShot toy back in the 80s, he's a little bit more detailed. So you can see there's an expression on his face. His face mask, there's some contour and texture to it, and his eyes are painted in a menacing red. You can tell right away this guy means business. But what really makes him interesting is that if you look closer to where his forehead is, you can see there's an ideogram, a Chinese or Japanese ideogram for 6 right here. So because he's SixShot, they kind of snuck that in. So whoever sculpted this, kudos to him. I'm going to transform him back and plug him in. So to put him in, you just ball him up, put him into the port, put the head into the port, and put the helmet down. Last but not least, I want to talk about the weapons. Very much like the original SixShot, he comes with 2 blasters. But what makes him different, what makes this version different is, unlike the original SixShot, you can actually combine the weapons. If you snap these 2 sides together, it becomes a double blaster. And there are these 2 ports at the ends of the gun. Snap onto his fist like this. Or you can snap onto his fist like this, like a normal gun. And you'll see in a moment how this comes into play. But there is a feature to the guns that is not available in the original SixShot, and that is, you'll notice that when I put the guns together, there's a cockpit area that is formed between the 2 guns when you put them together. And that's because that space is designed so that you can put Revolver in there. And you see there's like these 2 little pig holes or pigs, and there's these 2 pig holes on the bottom of Revolver's feet. And what you do is you just snap them in. You can have them sit down you can have them sit down by bending the hip and the mid-thigh joints so that you can kind of pretend he's flying in the air in a little spaceship. Okay, so let's get into SixShot himself. I'm just going to leave Revolver out because I'll show you how he's integrated with his alt modes. But let's just focus on SixShot's main body for now. So you'll notice that he has pretty much the same deco as the original G1 for those of you who has seen the original SixShot. He has the 2 sets of wheels on each of his arms. And when I mean sets of wheels, he also had these treads, like the tank treads, sorry. So I'm going to do one of his modes first. I'm going to transform him into his, let's say spaceship mode, because it's the easiest from his robot mode. So what you do is twist his leg. You shorten the legs out. Pull out the nose cone pieces on the side. Okay, make sure they're lined up. And then you twist them onto the side like this so that they line up. And you'll notice that the feet, the back spurs, unlike the original G1, these weren't there. But in this case, they're there to kind of lock things together so that you can kind of secure the robot mode in their alt mode, in his alt modes when you're transforming them. So what you can see that instead of having that strut as the G1 figure had, now you have the feet slash spurs to act as like a lock, like kind of like a locking mechanism to keep his alt mode pieces in place. And then you have these two nose cone pieces, and then you twist the nose cone pieces like so, and then you snap them together. So what you've done now is you form the front of the jet plane or the spaceship if you want. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to open the chest. You'll pull out these fins, tail fins, and then you put the head inside the chest chamber like this, so, and then you snap the chest back on. So now you have that part of the jet setup. Now onto the side of the arms. So you shrink down the arms like so. Put the fists in like that. Turn the wheels in like this. And then turn the wheels over like this and bring it up like so. So you can see the shoulder, his robot shoulders now form the turbines of the jet on the side there. You do the same thing on this side. You bring it over like this. Okay. And then you turn this on the side like that. And then what you do is you now turn it around. And this is a little different from G1 because as you can see, there's actually tabs and slots where you can lock the wings in. So you bring the wing up like this, both wings up like this, and then you push them down. So that way it's locked in place. Okay. So now you turn it over. That's your basic spaceship mode or jet mode. You can put the guns here. You can take them apart. And you'll see that there's two slots on the side of the guns. And then you fit them in on this way. So you just slide them in on the side of the wings like that, because that's what these slots are for. Okay? Put them in like this. And there you go. There's your spaceship mode. Now, for those of you who wonder, so what about where do you put the figure? Well, he does have a cockpit, except in this case, the cockpit is on the bottom. So you see this here? You can fit them in this way. Kind of put them in there, sit them down, like so. Oops, sorry. Going the wrong way. It's a little tricky. Just give me a sec. Okay. And there you have it. Now you're probably wondering why not put them in this cockpit? And that's because this is a dummy cockpit. It's not actually a functional cockpit. So this is its first mode. Now what you want to do, and unlike the first SixShot back in the 80s, is that there's actually a landing gear that you can pull out for this guy. So that way you can kind of stand him like this. So that's his first alt mode, which is a jet or a spaceship if you prefer. Now I'm going to go into a more controversial mode at this point because unlike the first SixShot toy, back then where the toy gun laws is less strict, I want to turn him into a submarine. And I say that in quotation marks because it's meant to be a gun. So I'm going to start with this base mode, or this jet mode. I'm going to take out revolver from the cockpit that he sits in right now. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tail fins back into the chest like that. So you basically just tuck them in like how you had them in robot mode. Okay, turn them around, unlock the wings like that. So according to the official mode, this is supposed to be the conning tower. I'm not kidding you. And then you put the guns on this side and on this side. And then very much like the previous mode, you can put them in the cockpit. You can put revolver in the cockpit, or you can put them in one of these ports or these control cabins. You'll see if you look closely, there's actually molded details in these spots here, where you can actually put more than one of these little minifigures. They call them Titan Masters. So believe it or not, this is what Hasbro wants you to believe as a submarine. We all know this is not meant to be a submarine, because in the original toy, this is supposed to be the weapons mode. So in the original G1 toy, this comes together, it locks together, okay? But what you do is you go one step further. You take apart the nose cone like that, and the gun mode should resemble something like this. So this is what the weapon mode is supposed to be. Now in the original mode, there's actually two little gun barrels that flips out in the front here, and then you can add these guns on the side to give it extra firepower. And kids can imagine that this is a weapon, because you have your handle, you have your barrel, and back in the G1 toy, you actually have a trigger that comes down like this. And in this case, you have the beast face here, but it doesn't pull down like it should, like it would back in the G1 toy. Actually, back in the G1 toy, you have a radar dish here that serves as a trigger and a radar for his alt modes. But in this case, it doesn't. So yeah, so this is supposed to be the submarine mode, but a lot of fans you'll see, you kind of like turn it into this. So you kind of have a semblance of a weapon mode like you would have back in G1. Okay, so from this mode, I'll turn it into his third alt mode, which is his armor vehicle mode. So I'm gonna kind of keep him in this mode like this. I'm going to turn the wheels around like so, like that, like turn it upwards. I'll do the same on the other side, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over, and you'll notice that on the side of the arm and on the side of the leg here, you have the slot and this tab here. And what you do is you want to put them together by extending the arm like so and lock them in place like this. You do the same on the other end. Make sure the arm's extended, flip it over, bring the side out, and lock that on the side here with the other slot, like that. And then for the wings or the handle, you bring it down like this. Again, lock the wings in, bring it out front so that it forms an armor panel. And then from here, you see there's these two ports. You put your gun here on one side, you put the other here, like so. And very much like the spaceship or the jet mode, you can either put revolver in the cabin, or like the submarine mode, you can put revolver in one of these control, I guess, consoles on top of the vehicle. So now you have a rolling vehicle. You have these four wheels in this mode, and it's very similar to the G1 version, except in this case, right, the front of the vehicle is not open. You actually have a grill port that's formed by the heel spurs. And compared to the G1 mode, this is a little bit more sturdy because you had the tabbing and the slots involved on the side. And it rolls pretty well because the clearance on this version, there's about, I would say, a centimeter off the ground. So it rolls a little better than the G1 version. You also see that in this mode, you can see there's these decals with the Decepticon insignia on it. So it is a little different, but at the same time, it's kind of similar to what the G1 toy was. So far we have the jet, we have the submarine / weapon, and we have the armor vehicle. Now we're going to go on to his fourth mode, which is a wolf, or some sort of beast mode. What I did was I just swung out the wings just to give it a clearance, untab the sides like so, and then flip it over, take the legs out like that, extend them like so. Okay, put the spurs back like this, flip them over, flip this over, flip them in, and kind of have them stand up like this. Flip the wings up, bring the head out like this. So you can see he has a creature head tucked in. Bring the arms out like so. Like this. And then you'll see there's like these two paws on his forearm like this. So you can see right now he has this alt mode where he has the hind legs. Got the head. His mouth does open. It is a little tough to get it open, but it does open because there is a hinge, I believe. I could be wrong, because I just can't get it open right now. It's just stuck. And there's your wolf mode. It's not as convincing as the other mode, but I'm not saying the other modes are convincing, but the way that they design it, it kind of takes the cues from the original toy. But what makes this one different is that it does have more articulation compared to the original toy because of the additional articulation you found on the robot toy itself. So very much like all his other modes, Revolver can sit either by where the head is, because there's actually a little chamber for him to sit, or he can sit in this open space in the back, like so. Very much like the G1 toy, there's not anywhere you can really put the weapons. And according to the in-universe fiction, this is because SixShot in this mode, he preferred to destroy his enemies with his claws and fangs. So it makes him a little bit more vicious in this mode. He's a lot more agile in this mode as well. So that's his fourth alt mode, which is a beast mode. Finally, there's a fifth mode where he becomes another vehicle. So the first thing I do is I would flip the head / neck back, flip his legs up, or his paws up, and then I would reconfigure his legs like I did before, like so. Put it together. Oops, sorry. Like so. Put it together. Like that. And then put his arms down like this. Swing his legs on his side. Okay, bring his legs up like this. Like so. Now, you can either stick these heel spurs up like this to make it look like they're blasters. As you can see, they're kind of gun looking. And you can snap these guns on the side, because there are these ports on the side where you can put the guns in. So there's your gun turret. And then what you do is you bring the arm up like this, swing it down, and this is where the tank treads come into play. You take the treads off the side of the arm and swing it down like so. And then same thing with the arm, you'll see that there's tank treads here. Put it on the side like that. Now, I know it kind of like looks a little ad hoc, because it is. A lot of Six Mode's original modes back in the 80s, they're like this. And it's for a reason. It's because, you know, trying to get engineering to work for all the modes and make them convincing is kind of a tough order. But for what it is, a lot of these modes are not actual Earth-based modes. They're all Cybertronian modes. So they kind of look like, they look vaguely like vehicles. Okay, you do the same thing on the other side. Like so. And then you have your legs serving as the gun turret. It only moves up and down like that. It unfortunately doesn't turn left and right, but this is your Cybertronian tank mode. And it uses the same cockpit that we've been seeing in the past alt modes. This is where you can put revolver in there. So just slide him in there as a tank commander. I personally like to keep the canopy open so that, like, you know, he can see out. But, you know, you can just close it like you would in the other modes if you like. But yeah, so this is pretty much his tank mode. Now, you'll probably notice that in this configuration, you have these, I guess, slots. And you're probably wondering what they're for. In the Titans Return line, they had Trypticon, which is like another massive Decepticon, where you can plug in ramps onto the side of SixShot. And you can actually in this mode, he becomes an extension of Trypticon. So just imagine a ramp coming out from either here or this side, where it attaches to the side of the wing, and that ramp connects to Trypticon in his city mode or his battle station mode. Now, finally, he has another mode that a lot of fans kind of are on the fence on, but it's based on his Japanese cartoon appearance, where he goes up against Ultra Magnus by turning into his Flying Wolf mode. And what the Flying Wolf mode does is that it takes all the power of all his alternate modes into one single mode. So what that does is that well, I'll show you. So what you do is you take the gun turret out like that, put it in the back like so, and then swing the head of the wolf out. I'm just gonna keep revolver in there. Okay, and then you take the gun out, the gun's out on the side. You put it on his wings like you would in his spaceship mode, like this. Voila, this is his wing wolf mode. And what that does is it'll let him use all his abilities to fight against his enemies. It looks a little ad hoc, again, very much like his other modes, but this is an official in-universe alternate mode. So this is actually his 6th mode. So all in all, SixShot is really a 7th changer if you want to get technical. And that's my review for Titans Return SixShot. If you like what you watched today, hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.